Well, thank you guys for joining us. This is your pre-recorded session for the month, and I am so excited to bring to you Leslie Gaudet. She and I have collaborated, talking is a thing today, on a couple of different avenues, and she really, truly is an expert. She's someone I love talking to because of the little nuggets that you get and you hear. So, given that this month is one of those months, I brought Leslie in, and I'm excited to hear what she has to say. So let's start just by, can you tell everybody who you are in case they don't know you, and what you do, and all the good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to come in and speak to your community. I always love to share. My name is Leslie Gaudet, and I am a self-care strategist for female coaches, consultants, wellness providers, anyone in that space who really is supporting other people. And maybe they're not really looking at like, how can I support myself? I notice that is a theme that I've been noticing across social media, where I've just picking out and seeing posts from people who are talking about how they've served their community, and they're feeling drained. And I think that is just something that is a part of our makeup. I wouldn't say unfortunately, but it is part of who we are, because we give. That's the type of people that we are. We give, we want to serve, we want to help other people to live extraordinary lives. And in order to do that, we sometimes put our own health or our own well-being to the side, and we're not taking care of ourselves. So one of the things I had been really pushing on was burnout, and I felt like I know that this is a word that people have heard before. I know that they understand what it is when they start listening and they start picking up on, the different things that I've talked about, or they've talked to other people who said, they go through all of the lists of symptoms and they say, yeah, I'm burning out. They realize they're burning out. And that's the thing. Most people don't know they're in burnout until they're full on in burnout. They don't know they're headed towards it. They know that they're feeling the symptoms of overwhelm, stress, constant fatigue, especially maybe they're not taking care of their nutrition, they're not hydrating well, they're not getting enough sleep, they're not taking optimal rest throughout their day, they're not getting out and getting some vitamin D, they're not doing anything at all to support themselves because they're totally focused on who they're serving. So I understand that, because that's kind of like how I've been for a long time. And I know that feeling of when you think that, oh, yeah, burnout really is, I've heard it. I've heard people talk about it. I kind of know what it is, but I don't know if I've ever experienced it. And I really want to push back on that, because I know there are probably times. I think everyone has a burnout story personally, but we just, like I said, it's not on our radar. The word burnout is out there. It's a buzzword right now. People are hearing it all over social media. They're seeing it in print where people are talking about it, but they're not. There's like that disconnect between like the talking about it and the experience of it, because they don't realize that in that in between place, that they could be in that full on phase where they're not taking care of themselves. And so I like to talk a lot about burnout, but I've really decided to shift a lot of my focus to being in alignment. So like self-alignment, like what that looks like for you, because I know that, as an example, we want to feel good about ourselves. That's a common theme I hear. And I'm probably sure you've heard that too, Bonnie, in the conversations you've had with women. I want to feel good about myself. What does that even mean, right? It could be you want to feel physically healthy, you want to feel emotionally healthy, you want to feel good about your decisions and trust yourself and be okay in the trusting of your decisions, knowing that the decisions that you're making are for your greater good. But a lot of the time, what I've found is there's that self-alignment piece that's not there. That's why I say, when people don't recognize they're in the actual phase or a phase of burnout, it's because they don't realize that self-alignment piece is what's going to help them stay there. They're not looking at how, the things that they do on a daily basis, how they structure their day. That's such a big, huge component to our well-being, what we put on our calendar and what we say yes to. We don't understand that what we're saying yes to ultimately has a way of influencing how we show up in our day. And if we're saying yes to things that really don't align, they're not aligned with our lifestyle, they're not aligned with what we're doing. We're saying yes to possibly, as an example, which you probably can relate to, is um, they're working really hard. They want something quick and easy. They don't want to have to worry so much about food. And instead of maybe doing the meal prep on the weekends, that will support them with the healthier snacks, especially during those really on days where they're fully taking they're all in on a project. But what they've done, instead of like that meal prep of those snacks or having that meal prepped for the day, their meals prepped for the day to support their energy, they'll reach for the closest thing, a sugary snack for that boost, that extra cup of Java for that boost. Those things are only going to help in the moment, because there's that crash comes along, and then of course there's all the other health, you know, benefit, not non-benefits of doing that on a consistent basis, and then eating a fast food meal. So like, oh, let me go grab something really quick, and instead of choosing the healthier version, a lot of the time maybe they'll choose what we kind of coin as that comfort food. Like we look at burgers and fries as comfort food, like that's just the reality of it. But what that ends up doing, and this, is that it makes you feel like you don't have, like you just feel sluggish. You want to go take a nap. You want to just go lay down on the couch. You're not feeding your brain, which needs that energy, because our brain does consume a lot of our calories. I think about 20 to 30%. So when we think about that, if you feel like you're out of alignment, you're not focused, that could be partly because of how you're feeding yourself. And then the hydration part too, is your brain could be feeling dehydrated if you're not fully hydrating. So when I say self-alignment, it's really about like making sure that all of those pieces are in place, like taking care of yourself physically, with the hydration, with the nutrition, making sure you're getting proper rest at night, making sure you're taking those rest breaks through the day that not only benefit your body, like getting up and moving and a different attitude, but also your brain needs to it needs to digest. I truly feel like it's another way of like feeding your brain with information. And if it's like overload, it's almost like holding a cup under a running faucet that eventually just the water keeps pouring out. It can't hold anymore. And so it's taking that break to actually let your brain recharge, like to really digest what you fed it, to go through it, to, analyze it, digest it fully, and then you come back more focused and energized. So those are the things around. And then the emotional piece too, like the emotional resilience part, is I always feel like when we put anything into practice, especially things that we want for ourselves, like those self-development things for ourselves to make us feel good, because again, ultimately we want to feel good about ourselves. We want to feel good about the lives that we're living. And I feel when we are not looking at that other piece, that emotional piece, the reason why I say the emotional piece is that our emotions a lot of the time are what's driving us. Even though we have thought processes and we have those belief systems in place, once they're locked in, how we think and how we're thinking and what we're believing, our emotions start to take over. So when you have something happen, just as an example, you're driving in traffic. You might have been having a really good day up until that moment, but somebody cut you off and it pissed you off. And then all of a sudden you find yourself honking the horn, saying things that you might not typically say normally, on a normal basis. You might say it once in a while, but you're not like the sailor. You don't talk like a sailor most of the time. You actually do talk, normal for you, but all of a sudden you find yourself swearing, window down, yelling at the person. And that's a triggered emotion. Where did that come from? Because if you're having a great day up until that point, and all of a sudden someone cuts you off and you're like going from 0 to 100 into this other human being, you're like, whoa. So it's really like becoming, for me, I feel also becoming emotionally aligned, learning about how our thoughts and our emotions tied together are influencing each other, and how that then dictates what our actions are, how we respond. The actions, the emotions and the thoughts really are in our control, because no one's telling you how to think and feel. You're telling you how to think and feel. So those are in our control. And then you look at it like, okay, I have these thoughts and emotions that are working in tandem that are now pushing these actions. This, the way I respond, as I was saying in the traffic incident. And then the result is you feel like your day has been derailed, because now you're feeling a certain kind of way. You're angry, irritated, and that might translate into other interactions that you have with other people in your life. You might be driving home, and by the time you get home, as soon as you walk in the door, something might be off in the house. Like maybe one of your kids' toys is in the middle of the hall where you're walking in, and that just sets you off. And so you snap at your child, and you don't mean to do it, but you're just in that mindset. So it's learning to that emotional piece is really learning about how you're wired, how you think, and your emotions are wired. And that really comes back to, again, those, the actions you take provide you with the results. So you might have that response to your child, and then now you feel bad about it, but now you have to go back and you have to go back and fix that relationship after you've cooled down, because you realize, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to snap. That really doesn't matter in the long scheme of things, that the toy was in the middle of the hallway. All I had to do was just pick it up and move it, but instead I took it out on my child because of what just happened. And then also the other piece of that is the way that one of the other pieces around our thought processes, I call it like the emotional trigger cycle, is that when we have like a thought process in our emotions based on an experience, something happened, and then you have the result, the action, and then the result, what happens is those all reinforce the belief that you have around specific things. So the traffic incident is something completely like random, but say for example, you're in a meeting and you're saying something and you mess up a word or something, somebody laughs. And maybe that could be a nervous laugh on their side, or it could just be they thought you were trying to be funny, but that really like made you feel embarrassed. And so your whole process around that is you go back to a belief system that whenever you speak up, or in meetings, whether you're in public speaking, whether you're in an environment where you're leading a team, that when you mess up, it's because of something that happened. Your belief around that was because you're not good enough. So there's like so much that can go into this. I know there's not a lot of time that I can go into it, but it's really like learning, getting to that self-alignment piece and that emotional resilience gets you to this place where you feel really good about you, so that when you go into programs that are health programs, like to take better care of your healthy lifestyle, or other wellness programs to like incorporate self-care into your day-to-day, you're going to feel more whole and aligned to be able to step into those with more confidence and be able to like follow through and not have these other old limiting belief systems that were in place from before, pushing you and motivating you in this new thing that you're like stepping into. And instead you're like this whole human being who's able to like, okay, I feel good about myself. Oh yes, this something happens during when you're doing, maybe you're going through that healthy lifestyle and you mess up, and you go, instead of having that healthy snack, you go and you have a bag of cookies, okay, and or a bag of chips. Like for me, chips are my oh, I mean, I could eat a bag of chips. And not talking the small ones, but I used to like grab these big bags of chips, the family size. I couldn't just eat one. I couldn't just eat a few. I used to eat the whole bag in one sitting. And it's just crazy that I would do that. And then I'd feel bad afterwards, and I beat myself up for it. So it's just like learning about your patterns and your habits and the belief systems and all of that to become whole, so that when you step into something like eating healthy, and then you might have one of those times where you might eat more than you intended to of a snack. You're not beating yourself up for it, but you're like saying, okay, this happened. How can I get back on track? Moving forward, keeping yourself whole, because now you feel good about yourself. You feel whole. You're aligned with what you want, and you are putting pieces in to support you, and you're not looking back at those old patterns, those old limiting beliefs. They're no longer serving you, and you understand that you have to reframe how you used to think, and how you would respond to more empowering things. So I'm not sure. I mean, I think I kind of like was getting to the point of really like just the rest of the journey really is for me, when someone is understanding about the alignment piece and the emotional resilience, they're setting themselves up for success when they add in all of these other pieces like self-care, health and wellness, all of those things that are to support them, so that when they are, so that like when they're doing other things, they can really feel good about it. They can feel empowered, and they can feel like I've got this, and they don't fall back into old patterns. And they have people like yourself, like your partner in your business, that has a supportive environment, where it's about, again, I believe community is huge. So you've built this community, and so being in your community, this is a great thing, because if you mess up, if you say eat that snack that you thought like, why'd I do that? You have a community to say, you know what, I messed up today. I ate this snack. I'm beating myself up. And you're going to have probably many women coming under there. I get it. I know how you feel. I've been there before. Don't worry. You got this. That is the power of when you are already in that alignment and that emotional resilience, and you can reach out to your community and get that support. So that's really why I feel it's so important for me that self-care is a way of life, no matter what type of self-care it is. What it's, again, the health part, the body, the mind, the soul, all of it is so important. The wellness of you is what's going to give you that quality of life. And when you show up the best that you can for you, like when you take care of yourself and you add in all of these components to support you, the person that you become is really going to have that ripple effect on your family. I know from personal experience, I'm sure you do too, Bonnie, that the things that we've done for ourselves, because the healing begins within, and the external does not heal you, it's the internal healing. When we do that, when we've done that, and I know, just like this from personal experience, I show up differently. And that is being reflected back to me. And so I love that. And so that's why I feel self-care is so important. It should be probably your number one thing on your calendar. And then everything else, business, everything else can go on there. So thanks so much for letting me speak today.
You are welcome. I love listening to you, especially about self-care. It is definitely one of those topics that even today I struggle with. 4.5 years later, I still struggle with it, because it's very easy to get caught up in so-and-so needs something, they need something, the kids need something, the spouse, the clients, the parents, the siblings, the friends, everybody needs something. And I've even started to put things in my calendar if I feel like I'm having one of the busy days, like what you talked about, is I start putting things in my calendar so that I don't brush off my self-care.
Yeah. And the thing is too, what's really important though, as well, it's on your calendar, but you have to hold yourself accountable to it. Because even if it's there, that's just the first step. You have to be able to hold yourself to say, okay, oh, this is my walking time. I'm going to go. However, there's also the other thing that I want to point out is, if you have a moment where life happens, like I know you have 4-year-old twins. So it's not like you can say, wait, this is mommy's walk time. Okay. If something happens, you can always move that to another part in the day, but making sure that you hold yourself accountable to doing it, because otherwise it can become really super habit forming to keep putting off the things that support us so that we can support other people in our lives. And you want to show up as the best version of you for mom, for your children and your significant other. You want your family to be whole. And when Bonnie's whole, that translates out to them. It's like you're reflecting it to them, and that comes back to you. And so like it's a win-win.
I agree. I agree. I definitely notice for me, if something's on my calendar, um, I won't let it go. I might move it because of something happening, but if it's on my calendar, that's my non-negotiable, and everyone has a different non-negotiable. So we definitely need to find the thing that is going to allow us to not only mark that time, but keep ourselves accountable. It's a
Exactly.
good point. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I love hearing you talk. I love when you can come on and join us for various things that we do. So thank you so much. I know I'm going to put your information below, but can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me either Facebook, LinkedIn. I think those are the two places most people find me. So you can just go find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, message me if there's something you want to know more about. Yeah, those are the two places.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for being here. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to either put them in the comments and I'll make sure to connect you to Leslie, or you'll see the links so that you can connect with her yourself and continue this conversation. So thank you so much. We'll chat with you guys later.